What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Home of Comics. This is Brayden back again with another X-Men 97 Season 2 review. We are at episode 6, titled Danger.Exe. And oh my gosh, we got a lot to unpack. So this is essentially their sequel to episode 4, where Magneto dies. Right? Remember Magneto died? And then they were like, okay, Polaris is Magneto's daughter. Let's have an episode sort of exploring her psyche in the wake of her father's death. This episode starts with Professor X going through the situation again and again in the Danger Room, trying desperately to figure out how he can exist in a world without Magneto. And the Danger Room said, all right, that's cool. I'm going to become super freaking strong based on your instructions and develop a sentient mind of my own. And therein lies the villain for today's episode. It's going to be the Danger Room itself, which basically becomes a sort of Ultron-like computer robot program and fights the rest of the X-Men. A bunch of kids get trapped in the Danger Room, and Polaris, having just been cut from X Factor at the start of this episode, runs back to the X-Men in need of a home. And her and Bishop are basically helping out these kids in the Danger Room as it starts going haywire. Meanwhile, Professor X takes a quick stop to Genosha, and he's like, damn, Magneto died, and I got to find a way to essentially recover the pieces of what the X-Men need to be in the wake of Magnus's death. So he's in Genosha, so he can't even help. And then Polaris and Bishop are left stranded by themselves because the Danger Room locks down the rest of the X-Mansion and stops the rest of the X-Men from being able to help them out. Meanwhile, Polaris gets her freaking ass beat by this new Danger Room thing, and then it steals a Quinjet and is going, or I don't know if it's a Quinjet, it's a fighter jet that the X-Men own, and heads straight for Genosha to stop Professor X. Meanwhile, Polaris, now woken up, is like, shit, now I gotta go to Genosha and help my father's, like, basically his brother, or his lover. Okay, maybe not. Help get, Professor X to see his true potential as well, by battling this Danger Room. So Danger Room comes into Genosha. Everyone else who's at Genosha is like, "Oh shit, this is the freaking Danger." Like Beast is like, "Oh, this is just a sentient Danger Room. That's really cool." Polaris is held back by her father. Professor X in essentially was the final fight of this episode is like, Polaris, you are your father's daughter, and that is a good thing. Figure out how to channel all of your power and unleash it. And together they're able to stop the sentient Danger Room. In the wake of this, Polaris learns that, she is her father's daughter. That's okay. That she has tried so hard to be her own person, but that essentially Magneto is someone to look up to. He has become that person in the wake of his death. Professor X is like, we need to figure out how to establish the X-Men overseas. Essentially, they weren't able to continue X-Men operations because of X Factor and the government essentially stopping them from doing that. So they form X Corp on Genosha. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. I think it's kind of stupid to start a corporation that essentially runs an entire nation. I don't think it's sending the right message politically. However, it is cool, I guess, that the X-Men are still starting activity somewhere and they're able to try to defy the US government. So it's like, okay, like it is kind of like a necessary evil in a lot of ways. Maybe Professor X is seeing it that way as well. I think not calling it X Corps would have gone a really long way, but what do you want me to do? I don't know. The episode ends with Professor X being like, guys, I think Apocalypse truly is coming now, which is really setting us up, I think, for these last 3 episodes. And Apocalypse at the very end of the episode could have been a post-credit scene, but it wasn't. It was just the final scene of the episode, reviving Gambit. Apocalypse is reviving Gambit, possibly on Genosha, because that's where Gambit was, although I do think he moved his body at the end of episode 1 to become one of his 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I believe he is Death. I believe that that's the name of what Gambit will become. I could be wrong about that. He's going to become one of the 4 horsemen, though. That's already been teased throughout the season. I'm sure Gambit will come to his senses at the end of the season. But this was a great episode. Certainly low on like plot. Like it's not really advancing much. You get the establishment of X Corps. You get character progression for both Polaris and Professor X. But aside from that, you're not getting a ton. So I understand why some people might be again put off by this episode in the wake of last episode, which I enjoyed, but definitely was maybe on the weaker side too in terms of like plot and more just so character development. However, I'm willing to give this episode an 8 out of 10. I do think that is worthy of that. It's got great animation. It does have great character progression. Simply put, I can't just rate an episode super low because it doesn't solely advance the main plot. I think that's sending the wrong message too, anyway. I want to spend time with these characters and learn these characters. And given that we have 3 episodes left, there's very clear time for all of the rest of the main plot to kind of continue. Worst case scenario, this plotline bleeds into season 3, which I'm also okay with. Apocalypse deserves a few seasons anyway. So yeah, 8 out of 10 definitely is not the best episode of the season, but nowhere near. Actually, well, I guess it kind of is near the worst because the season has been so good, but it's not the worst episode of the season. I can tell you that for sure. Hope you all liked. Subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts on episode 6, Danger.Exe, and I'll see you guys in the next X-Men 97 season 2 review. Peace.